Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I hope we will support this legislation. And there's a couple things I want to say about it. First of all, this legislation is overdue. I think a lot of us back in 2020 wanted to see us to go to $15 an hour. We can only get to about $12.50. But if you go back and if you take the minimum wage that we adopted, the highest minimum wage we adopted in 2020, and you throw it into the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics inflation calculator, you will learn that the inflation over the last 6 years has basically eaten up virtually all of what we enacted. $12.50 back in 2020 is equal to about $15 today. And so it's important that we do this so that we keep the promise that we made to voters when we enacted the minimum wage change that we did in 2020. And this one other thing I just wanted, one anecdote I just want to have that really brought things home to me when we were looking at this last time. I had a constituent I represented in a child support case that I did as a favor to somebody. And when I was doing my intake of him, he told me he worked at Chipotle. And he lived down the street from me on Route 1. And I said to him, "Oh, you work at the Chipotle right up on the top of the hill." And he said, "No. I don't work there. I work at the Chipotle in Union Station in Washington, D.C." I was like, "Why would you work at a Chipotle in Washington, D.C. instead of one that's like about a quarter mile from your house?" He said, "Well, in Washington, D.C., the minimum wage is a lot higher." And so this person was commuting by bus and on the metro every day to go work at Chipotle in Washington, D.C., because Washington, D.C. had a minimum wage that was more competitive than ours. And I give that anecdote to just point out that this what we're doing will give us, not only will it, I think, make things more affordable for all of our families who will be able to afford to live in the communities in which they work. They'll be able to afford, hopefully, being able to buy a health insurance, provided that what the Trump administration did on the tax credits doesn't price the health insurance exchange out of their reach. But we'll also, I think, get more people, alleviate the needs of more families to need government services. And I think net, this is a bill that will pay dividends to all of us and to taxpayers' dividends long term. And we've heard a lot about affordability for the last year. This bill is a quintessential affordability bill. And if we're listening to voters and we're listening to Virginians, everybody in this chamber should be voting for this. I'd hope we could support the bill.